interviewing the six-figure digital marketer. If you're on the replay right now, give us a hashtag replay down below. The more engagement we get, the more people we reach, the more people we can help. And I got my main man, JR Rivas, here with me. I'm so excited to have him on. He is a freaking marketing powerhouse. He's ran a six-figure agency. He's done, I think, around multiple six figures with affiliate marketing. And he's
digital products, coaching, whatever.
All that good stuff. He made one crazy physical transformation over the past year and a half. And now he's kind of going through a phase where he's going through this like being mental transformation. And that's what we're going to get into on the live today. And as always, if you're on the live, give us a hashtag live down below. And at any point, ask any questions that you want. And then JR and I will definitely get them answered. But welcome, JR. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me. I've been in my cave for the last few months or whatever. And I was like, all right, I got to do a breakout interview. Like where should I do it? How should I do this? So I couldn't think of anyone better than you to be my breakout interview of me coming out back into the limelight, into the world again. So thank you for being open to it.
For sure, man. So tell us what you've been up to over the past few months.
Yeah, so it's been pretty crazy. You mentioned my physical transformation over the past year. I guess the way I can put it is it's been like that, but a mental transformation. Mm-hmm. So I literally like pulled a Kanye and like went off the grid, and I went to live with monks in the mountains of California for a week. And people are like, everybody was hitting me up like, oh, like JR is going crazy. Like, what's going on? I'm getting texts and stuff. People are concerned. But now I just kind of built up my entrepreneur, and it was fantastic. Like I wouldn't have been able to do this without my digital marketing business. Yep. Because while I was there, things were still moving passively, and my passive income streams were still coming in, which allowed me to do this and kind of just not worry and take that time for myself. Mm-hmm. So I started doing research, and I was just like, man, I just feel like this entrepreneurship game is starting to turn into a rat race of constantly trying to level up in a very, not because there's a right way to do that with like growth and contribution. There's a wrong way to do that with like materialism and just trying to be better than everybody just because you're insecure. So that's kind of where I felt like I was. So I started looking for answers, and I find that Mike Posner, who used to be an R&B singer. And he actually still is. He had the hits "Cooler Than Me," "I Took a Pill in Ibiza," a bunch of other songs, "In the Arms of a Stranger," whatever. So I hear him. I start listening to Impact Theory every day by Tom Bilyeu, and he was on one of the episodes, and he said that he took a week off and went to stay at a cabin in the woods, basically, and it was on monastery grounds though. So he said that on his first day there, what he realized was that he's sitting there trying to meditate and trying to kind of free his mind of like the world and all this stuff. And he noticed that his mind starts creating goals. Like, hey, Mike, you got to go run up and down the hill 3 times for exercise. Hey, Mike, you got to go organize all the spices in alphabetical order. Like, hey, Mike, you got to go do this thing. So he saw that his mind was making up tasks to fill time. So he said that while he was up there, he realized that how many of our goals are actually just created by our minds to fill time because we're afraid of being alone in a room. So I started thinking, and I was like, damn, well, how do I know that the goals that I've set for myself are really my goals? Because I've never taken time away from the influences of society and social media and the influences of my phone. And I've never sat alone for, more than, 5 minutes or whatever. So I'm like, in my mind, I'm constantly accepting all these messages and all these influences from social media, from advertisements, from my friends, from my family, from all these different places. How do I know that what I want is really what I want and not just what's been fed to me, because I'm constantly getting hit with all these messages? So I realized that a lot of the goals that I set were just arbitrary things and arbitrary numbers that I set to A, feel productive, B, feel good about myself and feel cool, and C, fill time. So I was like, I need to do something like this. So I start doing some research, and I'm at the time I was in Las Vegas, and I find that there's a monastery about 4.5 hours away outside of San Diego called Deer Park Monastery. So I go to this monastery, and I start hanging out with these monks for a week. And it was the first time that I had shut the fuck up and sat in a room in my entire life. And what happened was the following that happened was pretty amazing. I started to really have influences come up from within myself. And my true self was really starting to bubble up with all this, because I now suddenly had all this free space to not accept influence, but listen to myself and what's going on inside of me. So I started with the monks. We basically, these were Buddhist monks. So brown robe, bald guys, most of them Asian, Vietnamese or Korean. I think they were Vietnamese. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So bald, robes, like legitimate monks. So the first thing we do is first thing in the morning, we meditate. And I learned a bunch of different lessons from them. So by meditating, I was able to kind of create this space inside of me because now I wasn't being assaulted by all these messages all the time. It was literally just me with myself. And that's when the real you starts to bubble up. So I learned a bunch of different lessons with them about happiness. And I'd met people who literally left everything that I was chasing to live this simpler lifestyle. So the result of this experience was I totally decluttered and simplified my life. And I'll talk about that in a little bit. But the two main things and the experience that I could gift everybody, that I wish I could gift everybody that's watching right now, is it completely cured me of the sickness of consumerism to fill the void of insecurity. So I was like that guy that every day there's an Amazon box showing up at my house, Amazon Prime, sometimes 2 or 3, and it was just stuff, and it just sit around, and I'd use it for a day, and it just sit around, or even if I did use it, it's not something that I really needed. But I learned by hanging in solitude for this time that the reason I was buying all this stuff was not because I really wanted it or needed it, was to fill this void of insecurity. So, and I'm not saying like, I don't want to push any of this on anybody else. I'm just telling you guys what I was feeling and what worked for me. Yeah. Now, if some of this stuff is resonating with you, then great. Like, message me, whatever. I've been through, I can chat with you about it, but I'm not saying this is what anybody has to do. And the second thing that I got from this experience was just feeling, for the first time in my life, feeling like I could be happy without it being tied to a person, a goal, the accomplishment of a goal, or some sort of event. So I literally, since I went to this thing, I literally can be happy in a room by myself just because. And it's an amazing, it's a hard thing to explain, but it's an amazing thing once you do experience it. So I'll kind of pause there and see if you have any questions about any of that, or like Mike, a lot of people always ask questions about the monks and how they live and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's really fucking cool. And we have a question from Alan asking you if you have a real estate course, but if you guys have any other questions, drop them down below. This is a really cool experience that you went through. And like the book that I'm reading now, that's all about positivity, and just like, you think you're going to be happy when you're successful. Like, that's what you're told. When you're successful, you'll be happy. But really, it's the happiness within you that makes you successful. That's going to make you successful. Or like when you're more optimistic, those people are more successful. And that
So you want to know a secret?
Yeah.
if you're unhappy now, when you're successful, you're going to be 10 times more unhappy. And the reason I say that is because if you're unhappy now, at least in your mind, you're like, okay, if I reach this level, like you have something to hope for. You're like, if I reach this level, I'll be happy, right? If I reach this goal, I'll be happy. But once you reach that goal and you're not happy, then you're hopeless. You start to feel hopeless. And that's why we see a lot of successful people ending their lives and doing all these crazy different things. So it's something to work on now, not in the future, not when you think, once you reach a certain level of success or whatever, then you'll be a happy, confident, and face all your insecurities and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm. I love that. And I think we have a good question from, was it Dominique? After letting stuff go, what are some things that you're like, whoa, I need to keep that in my life?
Is she talking about my ex-girlfriend?
It's a he. What?
Letting stuff go.
Yeah.
Okay.
After letting stuff go, what are some things that you're like, whoa, I need to keep that in my life? Kind of like, go ahead.
So I mean, I've let a lot of stuff go, as far as just the stuff that I have in my house and sitting around. But as far as the stuff that I feel like, whoa, I need that. There's not much of anything in regards of physical things like possessions and materials and stuff like that, that I would lose and I wouldn't feel like I'd still like nothing you can take from me as far as materials would make me unhappy. But stuff that I feel like I need to nurture more is more the relationships in my life. And not only like my family and friends, but like the people that I meet every day. I've kind of made it a practice to start reaching out to people, whether they're friends or acquaintances, every so often, just to check on them and see how they're doing and stuff like that. So I wouldn't say there's been a particular thing that I'm like, I need to, hold on to this. I've just kind of made use of, as far as like material things, everything that I didn't use on a consistent basis, I've just kind of let it go or given it away, thrown it away, sold it, donated it, whatever.
Yeah. Even your Corvette.
I still have that, but it's for sale.
It's for sale?
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. So you said on like day one, when you got there, you started to kind of see a little change. You learned lessons. Was there like a pinnacle moment in those 7 days where you're like, holy shit, this changes everything?
Yeah. So right around day 3, I want to say. So this monastery is in a mountain, and it literally has one part of it that's on the edge of a mountain, and you can sit there and look out into the mountain. And the monks practice what's called lazy day, at least once a week. So they do it. I think they do it every Monday. But basically, lazy day is when you wake up whatever time you want and you do whatever you want all day. So they do this once a week. So they had lazy day, which there was no tasks on our calendar or whatever. And the monks are very like routine based as well. We had this lazy day, and I literally spent like 90% of the day just sitting in the same spot, looking at the mountain and just being extremely like grateful and happy just to be there, and just to be a person and be alive and all this stuff. And I, at that moment was when I realized like, damn, I didn't have my phone. I didn't even have like a book to read or anything. And I was just like, damn, I could really just be happy just being here. Like I didn't feel like I needed to talk to anybody. I'm just being happy because I'm here and I'm able to experience this moment. And it's hard. It's something that's hard to understand unless you witness it. But I was reading Kevin Smith's book today, and he's the film producer. He did Silent Jay and Silent Bob, and he did a Zach and Miri Make a Porno or whatever. So he's like makes like these raunchy movies. So in the beginning of the book, he's like basically saying like you should be grateful just for the simple fact that you are a natural born winner that beat amazing odds and outswam like everybody else in the pool. And then he makes a joke and he's like any retired athlete, he's like any retired athlete past their prime, I'm now just gonna sit back and enjoy life. So basically, like when you're a sperm swimming through your mom or whatever, that is like the peak, that is the pinnacle. Like you've already overcame the hardest thing. And once you make it to this side, you've already overcame amazing odds. So while you're here, you might as well enjoy it because you're already a winner no matter what. So that was the moment for me when I just sat there and I was like, I just appreciate this just because, and I just feel happiness just because I'm here. So after that, it just kind of changed everything for me. And the way that like you guys might be watching this wondering like, how does this, like, I want to make money. JR, teach me some tactics or whatever. But until you solve these insecurities within yourself, you won't be successful as you can be because you're not going to be the person that you can be. And B, even when you get a little bit of success, or if you have a little bit of success, you're still not going to be 100% fulfilled. So that is how this ties into business. That's why this is important. If you guys listen to, if you guys have ever listened to Sam Ovens, which I'm sure there's a bunch of you, he says that there's no such thing as business problems, only personal problems that show up in business. So insecurity is the biggest one for entrepreneurs because so many people become entrepreneurs because they're insecure. And it's like, oh, like screw you. Like I'll show everybody that I could do this. And, I'll go out and I'll prove this and I'll go buy a fancy car and I'll show off on Instagram. And like, I've been there, I've done all those things. And I just know it's just not the answer. Not to say that money and success is bad. I'm more motivated now than ever because I'm sitting in my purpose. And the difference in the way that I like to describe it is there's the person that you are right here. And there's the person that you want to be up here. And this is who you are. This is who you want to be. And this gap right here can either be filled by one of two things. Most people fill that gap with insecurity. Oh, to be the person that I want to become, I must attain all these different things. Yep. The other way to do it is to fill that gap with contribution. So say instead of, filling it with insecurities, now to be this person I want to become, I must contribute to other people at a higher level. So that shift right there, once you make that shift, the game's over. Like you already won. You're already happy and you're doing all this other stuff because you care about other people. Mm-hmm. And B, you'll live a much happier and a much more meaningful existence.
Yep. I love that. You can make money either way, whether you do stuff out of insecurities or if you do things out of like your deep purpose, your why. And as Jim Carrey put it, you're either doing things out of fear or you're doing them out of love. Those are the two things that where things manifest. But I absolutely love that, man. So what have you implemented into your life now? Actually over the past year, because it didn't all start at the monastery. What have you implemented over the past year and a half that has helped you on this new path?
Yeah, so a lot of the things that basically the classic cliches that habits of high performers and stuff like that, such as waking up early. So I've tried my hardest to shift my schedule more towards the morning and getting up 5:45, 6 a.m., going to bed early and waking up and having a routine. So meditating, not looking at my phone until after 9 o'clock, hitting the gym early, first thing in the morning, trying to get some sunlight in the morning as well, doing my 5-minute journal, which is this little gratitude journal that Tim Ferriss made popular, but they have it on Amazon. It's just a little journal. You write a few things that you're grateful for, what would make today great, and an affirmation that you are whatever. And then at night, you write in it again, and you write what today was great. You write one thing that made today great and how today could have been better. and then you write, and then that's I think that's pretty much it. It's like one page, and you do these things, and then after I do those things, I work out, and then I usually get back around 9 o'clock, and I start my work day. And until that, and at that point, I don't look at my phone. So I don't even I stopped listening to music for my workouts just because I didn't want to have my phone on me. And I've actually found that it's better, because that's time that you're spending not accepting influences like I was talking about before, and really just sitting in the pain of the workout. Like, you can use music to make it easier, but I don't want it to be easier. Fuck easier. I want to feel the pain of the workout and know that I'm overcoming this 100%. So, and not using, music to make it easier. A lot of people are going to disagree with that, but whatever. So I started doing that. And then also, one thing that I've been doing gradually over the course of a year without even realizing it, and then after the monastery, I kind of went full force with this, is just decluttering my entire life. If you guys are familiar with, there's a podcast called, and also a documentary on Netflix called The Minimalists, where they make this lifestyle of living with less stuff so that you have more mental space for the things that are important. Guys, every time you open up a drawer and it's cluttered, all that clutter creates clutter in your mind. So I started to declutter everything. And one way you can do this is to have what's known as a packing party. And you take all your stuff, everything, your toothbrush, all your spoons, your blender, your toaster, and you put it in a box. And then you put it in boxes, you make a designated time period. So let's say 60 or 90 days. And anytime you need something, you reach into the box to use it, and then you put it where it belongs in your house. After 90 days, whatever's still in boxes gets donated, thrown away, given away, sold, whatever. And this has helped me drastically declutter. I started to declutter my influences. So I'm very careful now about the things that I let influence me. And that's why I try not to be on Facebook too much. I have the newsfeed eradicator, which blocks your Facebook newsfeed. I have the app Freedom, which blocks Facebook on your phone. I deleted all those apps, Facebook, Messenger, all that shit from my phone. And I basically stopped paying attention to advertisements. What do ads tell you all the time? Don't buy. I mean, you need to buy this. If you're not good enough unless you buy this. Your life will be better if you buy this. You're not good enough. You're not good enough. As
marketers, we're trying to find people's problems and then put the problems in front of them. And that's just for insecurity. If you're looking at a bunch of
right. So the average person sees 4,000 ads a day. So if you're seeing 4,000 times a day, you're not good enough. You're not good enough. You need this, or you're not good enough. Give me your money, or you're not good enough. At a certain point, that starts to wear on you. So then I unsubscribed from every email list. I left almost every Facebook group, except I'm in yours, obviously.
You came back.
Yeah, I came back. I unfollowed everybody on Instagram. I unsubscribed from every YouTube channel. And most people were like, well, I'm a marketer and I work on Facebook, and I got to see what the competition's doing and blah, blah, blah. And that's the same stories I used to tell myself as well to justify me being on Facebook 20 hours a day.
Yep.
But what I started doing is I just set time aside. First of all, I got back to the basics, blocking and tackling, the things that make money in business, blocking and tackling. Yep. So if you can identify those things and you're like, I'm just going to do these things, everything else is just noise. So I just got back to doing the basics and not worrying about what everybody else is doing, and just trying to solve problems for a specific person. I identify their problem and I try to solve it, and that's it. Everything else is noise. So they're like, oh, but JR, you're going to fall behind on the curve and you're not going to know what everyone else is doing or whatever. I know what everybody else is doing because I call Andrew and I'll say, hey, Andrew, what's been going on? Or I'll set time aside to do research and see what competition is doing. Passively scrolling on Facebook is not going to get you a result. It's not going to show you what the competition is doing because you're consuming passively. So instead of being a consumer, start to think more like someone who do you honestly think Jeff Bezos spends any time on Facebook? Or Elon Musk. Like, it's just silly. It's a silly thought, right?
Yeah.
But yet these are the most successful people in our society. But yet we think that to get to that level, we have to do something opposite of what they're doing. Like, it just doesn't make sense. So I guarantee you, if you walk into Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk's house, it's going to be neat. It's going to be organized. Everything has its place, and anything that doesn't belong there that he doesn't use is not there, because they know the same thing that I recently realized is everything that's around you is taking up mental space in your mind. And all those apps on your, like, those people that, like, I look at their phone screen and there's like 50 apps and they all have little notification signs next to them. It drives me crazy. Like, my app, and this is something I've done for the last year, probably more than the last year. My phone screen it's nothing. It's MyFitnessPal, because that's what I use the most. Everything else is in a folder. There's nothing on the other tabs, and everything's in there. So see those 6 notifications? The only thing I have notifications from is Voxer. Everything else is shut off. And like, why would, like, notifications are the worst invention ever. Yes. Because why would you want, if you know what your mission is and you're focused on that, why would you want anything that can take you away from that? Especially when studies show that it takes up to 25 minutes after your focus is shifted to completely focus on the task that you were working on. So I got rid of all that. So I decluttered my influences. I decluttered my home. I decluttered my phone. I decluttered my social media. I left a lot of stuff. I started only to follow, like, I was very, very specific. Like, on Instagram, I might follow 10 people. And I was very specific in choosing those people for, like, the influences that I want in my life. And I want very limited influences, because another problem I ran into is, okay, so I'm going to be on Facebook and I'm going to be in every Facebook group and I'm going to listen to every guru. Now every guru has different advice. Yep. So for example, Sam Ovens says, have one product, focus on one thing. And then you're like, cool, Sam, I'm going to do that. But then you're in the ClickFunnels group and Russell Brunson's like, no. You got to have upsell, downsell, continuity, high ticket, low ticket, medium ticket, live events. And you're just like, okay, well, I guess I got to do that. You got to have a break-even offer. You got to have a tripwire offer. You got to have all these different things. And then you're like, okay, do it. Cool, I'm going to do that. So then you're like, oh, I'm in Billie Jean's group as well. But Billie Jean says I have to do a social media agency. So then you're just constantly being drawn in all these different directions. And when things start to get hard in your business and you have all these different influences, you're going to be like, damn, it does look better to just do drop shipping and Shopify instead of what I'm doing, because you're in a state that's like, you're susceptible. So because things are getting hard. So now the grass always looks greener on the other side. So you're seeing all these other gurus and you're constantly pivoting and you're going 10 different ways and you're not getting anywhere because you've been assaulted by all these messages repeatedly, and you've gotten away from who you are and what you want. And you started to think more of like, okay, that person looks really cool in the drop shipping business, or that person is a professional speaker and they look awesome all the time. So I'm like, fuck all that shit. The only influences that I want are the ones between here and the ones from the people that I want to be like. So those are the only people. Like, I follow like David Goggins, Jesse Itzler, Neil deGrasse Tyson, and a few other people, and that's it. And the ultimate advantage of that is I get distracted. I go on Instagram and I might spend 2 minutes on there and I've seen everything everybody's posted for the last 2 days. So then if I get distracted and I go on again, I'm just looking at the same stuff. So I'm like, this is stupid. Might as well not go on Instagram. So those have been the main things. And just that, like, it's opened up so much more space inside of me for the shit that actually matters.
Yeah.
Because so, like, everybody's like, oh, I don't have time. But the reason you don't have time is because you're focused on all this shit that doesn't matter. You're scrolling 2 hours a day on Facebook. You're spending an hour a day on Instagram. You're spending all this time in your email inbox when if you would have just unsubscribed from everything, you'd only get important messages and you'd only be dealing with important things. Yep. So that is, I went on a little tangent there.
I love it.
I feel my blood pressure rising.
You guys enjoyed that? Give us a heart, give us a like, smash the fuck out of that button. But that's huge. Just recently, in the past month or so, I turned off all my notifications on my phone, and holy shit, Like I knew not to check my phone when I woke up, but it's my alarm. So now
Dude,
that
I got another alarm. I got a separate alarm.
I should. I'm just lazy and didn't get a fucking alarm off Amazon. But now, like, I don't have the notifications on my phone. So when I wake up and I look at my phone, there's nothing to check right away. I know a lot of people have those notifications right when they wake up. They see a text, they see somebody message them on Messenger, Facebook, Instagram notification. It just scrambles your brain early in the morning.
Dude, it's poison.
Yeah.
It's poison. Like before you even know who the fuck you are in the morning, you're already accepting influences. And don't you think like in the morning you're probably more susceptible to like your guards down and everything, so you're even more susceptible to outside influences. So that's definitely the time to be like, fuck all this shit. I'm like, I only want to be influenced by myself right now. Mm-hmm. And the reason that I wasn't okay with that in the past was because I wasn't okay with who I am. So I'm like, if I'm only influenced by myself, then I might end up a shitty person. I need to be paying attention to what everybody else that's awesome is doing. But now that I'm like, I'm fucking awesome, I'm like, the more time I spend with myself, the more awesome I become. And that's not being cocky. That's just like, just knowing your value and knowing your worth.
Yeah, 100%. And I feel like a lot of people get into the entrepreneur game because they have insecurities, because they
100%.
have like a void that they want to fill by calling themselves an entrepreneur first and then reaching that first goal. And they keep like setting that bar higher and higher and higher. And then the more they achieve it, and I've come to realize this, like the more you're like, holy shit, that doesn't make me feel any better. Like it's cool, but it's not really what fulfills me in life. So right. I love that you're going on this journey right now, and it's probably just like your momentum just keeps going forward, and you want to go further down the rabbit hole of your mind, which is awesome.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
But I know there are a lot of people in this group that are in hustle mode right now. They're like, fuck, I just need to get my agency or my business off the ground, or I need to make money to support my family right now. I don't have this passive income coming in from affiliate marketing or anything like that. So we talked a little bit about what you can do in the morning. What else can somebody do to kind of step back out of hustle mode just for a little bit, because you got to be in that like to grow your business. I truly believe that. But what are some other things people can do to take a step back and kind of reflect?
Dude, so I'm not saying that hustle mode is bad.
Right.
I'm saying you can do hustle mode better if you do the things that I outlined. If you turn all your influences off and you just focus on your craft, you'll be in a better place of mind. You'll get more done, and it'll be more in line with like what purpose you want to live versus just constantly, consuming because you feel like it's helping your business. I mean, if you do everything that I said and you're like, okay, I'm going to be in hustle mode, and all I'm going to do for the next, 3 months or whatever is prospect chiropractors or whatever, great. You'll be better at that. Like you'll have more space and mental energy for that, and getting better at that, and thinking more clearly about that. So I'm not saying that that hustle mode is bad.
Yeah.
But I still think even in hustle mode, you have to start your day off right, or it's just going to be fucked up.
Yeah.
And what was the other half of the question?
I don't know. It was pretty convoluted. I don't have any coffee in my system. So it's been a month that I haven't drank any coffee or caffeine.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So I truly believe in committing to something for 90 days. If you don't commit to something for 90 days, you don't see the full benefit of it. Mm-hmm. And quitting coffee is fucking tough, man. I feel drained a shit ton. But I know if I stick to it, I'll see the benefits of it. And I feel like a lot of people just quit before the 90 days, and they can feel the benefits of like not drinking or working out or something else like that. I'm sure you've experienced that with setting goals. So how do you like to set goals?
So first, I like to think like if I want, and this is something that I recently got from my buddy George Yu, who he went on Shark Tank and got a deal from Mark Cuban. He's like, if I don't see myself doing this in 10 years, I'm not going to do it. Like if I don't see this, if I don't see the benefits of this in 10 years, then I'm not going to do it. Or if this isn't something that I want to do long term, then I'm not even going to bother. So that's kind of one of the first things that I asked myself. B is like, is this in line with like who I am, who I ultimately want to achieve, the superhero version of myself? Is this in line with that? And then I asked myself, like, and this is also recently I started doing this. I asked myself, like, am I thinking too small? I was never a big Grant Cardone fan until, I mean, I'm still not a big Grant Cardone fan, but I like some of his messages, and mainly because of I've recently gotten into real estate investing, and he has some pretty good real estate stuff. But he has the whole 10x rule, and like thinking 10 times bigger than what you are. I don't necessarily do that, but I just ask myself, like, is this goal too small? Like, am I limiting myself? And then I ask myself, like, what is the purpose of this goal? Not just for me, but for like everybody else, like for humanity. Like, how is this going to serve other people? Mm-hmm. And this is all done while you're like, most people aren't clear on their goals because they never sit down and shut the fuck up for an extended period of time. Like, how could you possibly know what you want if you're just like you might think you do, but it's really just what the next guy has, and because the next guy has it, that's why you want it. So these are all things that I kind of, and I don't decide a goal in a day. I kind of take some time, and that's another thing. I started to take my time more with these bigger decisions and being more decisive on smaller decisions. So I used to take like 15 minutes just to decide like what I would always the last person to decide what I wanted at a restaurant. Like when the waitress was literally had gone around the entire table and they're on me, that's when I would decide what I wanted. And then once I got it, I'd regret it and I'd be like, oh, I should have got the other thing. And like stuff like that, I started to realize takes up a lot of mental space and decision-making power, like I said before. So I started to just kind of pick a criteria for my goals and stick to it as much as possible.
Mm-hmm. Love that. So I love this mindset talk, but I kind of want to talk about your businesses that you've ran in the past.
Let's do it.
So
I'm making some tea here. I just showed you earlier, I got a tea maker now. The monks got me into drinking tea.
I love it.
So I started to replace coffee with tea, and this one's caffeine free. So I'm like literally drinking tea all day long.
Cool. I'll drink my spring water. So you started with a brick and mortar business, right?
Yeah, I started with a tax business. I started with one office. That office still exists today. Actually, one of my buddies just bought that office. I saw him post it on Instagram, my first office. And he still has the same location that I had and everything. So I ended up getting in that business. I grew that first office, and then I ended up buying 3. I grew those 3. And actually my buddy now, he owns 2 of those 3, and I had sold him 1 originally. So then I started doing, so then I sold those 3, and I bought 1. I ran that one for a year, grew that one, then I sold that one, and then I got into digital marketing. And I just kind of, I just always knew that I wanted to do something on the internet, and our industry was kind of taking a hit. My offices personally had grown 10% that year, but it's like I could see the writing on the wall, and the company as a whole, the stock value was dropping. The company as a whole was losing tax returns because this was a franchise business. Yeah. But our competitors were also losing tax returns. So the only competitor, I guess you can say, that was doing well was TurboTax, which is an online business. Mm-hmm. So it was like, I need to start doing something online because obviously like that's where everything's going. And so I start doing a podcast because I was like, I don't know what, and this is kind of a testament to like the amount of leverage you can create, even being a brand new person, if you're just a little bit creative. So I knew that I needed to, I didn't know anything about the internet and I didn't know where to start. But I knew that if I had a podcast, that other people would want to talk to me because I had a podcast. And then I could interview them and ask them about their business. And this was kind of before like everybody had a podcast, but there was still, podcasting was starting to get big and all this stuff. So I ended up having Dan Henry on my podcast, and he's like, hey, I'm thinking of making this course on Facebook ads and blah, blah, blah. And I might start a beta group or whatever. So I was like, cool, I want to get in on the beta.
And doing at the time then, before he started that?
He had so right before I talked to him, I think he had just had his first big hit with a client, which was Ivy Lofts, that he'd sold like 900,000 worth of real estate. Like that had just happened. And then right after that, he took that result and he did like a little group coaching thing. And I remember he made like $4,000 on that, which like nowadays Dan makes like $4,000 off like half an email or whatever. So he had just done that thing, and I caught him like right after that. So he didn't have a course yet. He was kind of working on it. It was like kind of a quarter done or whatever. Yeah. And I had found him on Arnie's podcast. So Arnie had started a podcast, and Dan was the first episode on Arnie's podcast. So I was up like super late one night just looking at the new podcast, because I was like, if it's a new podcast, I'm more likely to be able to get on theirs and they're more likely to come on mine. So I saw that Arnie's was super new and Dan was the first episode. So I listened to it and I hit up Dan and Arnie. Arnie ignored me for like 3 months, and I finally get a message like, hey, I'm willing to come on your pod. And this was before Millennium Entrepreneur and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then Dan messages me back. I hit him up on Facebook and he's like, sure, let's do it or whatever. And so then it comes on my podcast. I end up getting in the beta. And this was like March, April 2016. And I really didn't do anything. Like his program was very like young still, and he was kind of using us to find out like what works and what doesn't work as far as like the teaching business. So I really didn't get any results for like 6 months, but I was just kind of hustling every day. And then once I finally did get my first client, I was able to scale that to 10K in like 45 days or whatever. And then that's when like the story picks up, and I start doing YouTube and I start doing affiliate marketing, and I start getting all these clients and doing coaching and all this stuff. And that's kind of how I got here today.
Yeah. And then you started a Facebook group and started doing affiliate, right?
Yeah. So I started a Facebook. So I saw the whole ClickFunnels Dream Car thing, and at the time, maybe there was like 15 people or something that had won it. Now there's like 60 something. And I was like, man, it'd be cool if I could do that. But like everybody on the list, it was like Grant Cardone, Robert Kiyosaki, Ty Lopez, Todd Brown, like Mike Filsaime. Like I'm none of these guys. So I was like, man, it'd be cool if I could get on the list with these guys. And even though I'm like some nobody from Pennsylvania or whatever. So I, by deciding that goal, sometimes I kind of regret going after the dream car as hard as I did, because I'm like, I could have easily put that time into like my own stuff and made more money. But going after that and deciding to go after that really taught me digital marketing, because I was forced to build a list. I was forced to, and those of you that don't know, ClickFunnels has an affiliate program. Once you get 100 people, 100 active users, they pay your car payment, and you're also making like $5-6 grand a month residual. So I was like, it'd be really cool to do that. So it forced me to build an email list. I started a Facebook group because of that goal. I started a YouTube channel because of that goal. I learned how to do all these different things. So in a way, I don't regret it, because it forced me to learn all these different things that made me, who I am today.
I'm super curious. How did you grow your Facebook group initially? What were some of the tactics that you used?
The usual, like really nothing special. Arnie had just come out with Arnie's group was blowing up, and me and Arnie are good friends. So I just kind of asked him, and he's like, hey man, just do a Facebook Live every day and do some interviews with some people, and like I forgot what he was saying, like post in other groups every day and post on your personal page and like just the blocking and tackling, like the basic stuff. And it worked. So we got to like 1,000 members, and from there it just kind of started to snowball. And I think we peaked at like 14,000, and then I purged like 4,000 people one day,
That
just
was
because.
recent.
Yeah, that was recent.
I'm gonna see
Um,
if I'm still in there.
huh?
I'm gonna see if I'm still in there. I don't even know.
You probably are. I had there was actually software that used to do it for you, but then the API with the software stopped working or Facebook cut them off or whatever. So I had to get a VA to literally like go in and look at the inactive members and delete them. And most of them were people who joined like right at the beginning and like never interacted or whatever. So yeah, so I just kind of grew it through just giving value to the community. Like I've never I think one thing that stops people from going out there and like making a Facebook group is that they think that they have to be freaking, Dave Chappelle on like camera or whatever. They have to be super funny or super interesting or super enthusiastic. If you just answer people's questions and do Facebook Lives and answer questions on Facebook Lives and just tell little stories of things that you notice on Facebook Live, there's going to be the people who resonate with you, and then everybody else just fuck off. Like it's not a hard thing to do. And I always say, like, if there's one person in this world that likes you enough to call you a friend and spend time with you on a Saturday night, then there's at least 10,000 motherfuckers on planet Earth out of 7 billion people that will like you just as much as that friend and want to hang out with you in a Facebook group.
100%. And I see a lot of people saying like, I'm not an expert, like I shouldn't be teaching this. And like, you don't need to be an expert. You just need to solve people's problems. And if you have that solution to people's problems, then you should be sharing it with them.
Or you can, like one thing I teach people in my affiliate marketing course is if you're new to a niche and you're not an expert, don't pretend to be an expert. Take on the role of the reporter and say, hey guys, I'm just going to go out there and I don't know any of this stuff, but to save you time from having to go through all this trial and error, I'm just going to swallow that complexity for you. And for example, if let's say you want to get into affiliate marketing and grow a group around that, but you're brand new to it, you're like, guys, over the next 6 months, it's going to be great. I'm going to try blogging. I'm going to try YouTube. I'm going to try JVs. I'm going to try all this stuff. And then I'm going to report back to you and tell you what works and what doesn't work. And people will appreciate that more than if someone like me who they're like, oh, JR's already done this, so like he's not really going to relate to me. Then if someone like me came in and I'm telling them what to do or whatever. The other thing you can do is just document your day and document the process and the cool things that you notice. Like you don't have to take on this role of like the guru or like this big person that knows everything or whatever. I think people even relate more to some of the other roles. And I think Russell Brunson talks about it in .com Secrets, the different roles that you can take on and how you don't always have to be the expert. You can be, I think one of them is like the reluctant hero, which is like someone who kind of steps into this role against all odds. Frank Kern did this one for the longest time. He's like, hey guys, I'm a nobody. And I just got into digital marketing because I wanted to surf all day. And so if I can do it, anybody can do it or whatever.
Yeah. Love it. Awesome, man. Let me see if there are any more questions here. Houston says, what's up? What's up, dude? I don't know what we were talking about, but Slaywick said shaving eyebrows.
I have no idea.
Daryl said airplane mode is freaking awesome. Agreed. Cool. This is probably going to be a terrible fucking outro, but dude, all the knowledge that you shared was freaking amazing. I can't wait to see how everything develops over the next few months, and I'm sure we'll bring you back in here for another interview. And I'm excited to go to a monastery as well. That's going to be a fucking blast. But dude, thank you so much for being here. It was awesome.
Thanks for having me.
This is awkward. No.
It's